Bob is undefeated in Fight Club. No one can beat Bob.
Why is it that some movies vanish after their opening weekend, while others live on for decades and grow into legends? These lasting films are not always award winners or box office giants. Instead, they are cult classics, carried forward by fans who memorize every line, share them with friends, and keep the love alive for years to come. They stand out because of their bold stories, striking visuals, and unforgettable dialogue that digs into people's minds. One of the most talked about cult classics is Fight Club, directed by David Fincher and released in 1999. The movie claimed a good spot with its raw portrayal of modern life, identity, and the emptiness people feel in a world consumed by money and comfort. Its shocking twist ending became one of the most famous in movie history. Even now, nearly 30 years later, fans still revisit and spot small details that connect to that twist. However, Fight Club was not initially loved by everyone. Even before its release, it stirred arguments about what it was really saying and how people might interpret its message. That storm of debate is part of what has kept the film alive all these years. To know Fight Club is to understand both the film itself and the noise that surrounded it. However, there are details that even devoted fans are unaware of about the movie, and the cast members have recently made some revelations about them. What could they be? Here is what most fans never figured out. Choreography and stunts.
We learned all kinds of fighting. Do you fight where,
In Fight Club, the fight scenes played a crucial role in propelling the film forward. They showed men punching each other in secret basements. These scenes required careful planning to appear realistic, yet safe. The director, David Fincher, wanted the fights to feel raw and authentic. For this reason, he had the actors perform their moves with great intensity. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, the lead actors, did most of their own stunts. They did not hold back. This allowed the camera to capture details such as the breath being knocked out of them from a punch. It made the hits look painful and honest. This lets the audience see the impact without tricks taking over. To prepare for these parts, Pitt and Norton trained for weeks. They learned boxing, taekwondo, and grappling. Grappling meant wrestling on the ground. This training allowed them to move like real fighters. Pitt explained that he practiced these skills so Tyler Durden would seem fast and strong. Norton trained as well, but he also lost weight so he could appear tired and weak at the start. As the story progressed, his body began to change, reflecting the breakdown of his mind. Few stunt doubles were used because Fincher wanted the real actors' faces on camera. This kept the fights personal. At one point, Norton hit Pitt in the ear for real. Fincher told him to do it to create surprise. Pitt's reaction was actual pain, and it was kept in the film. Another moment came when Norton broke his thumb after punching Pitt's hard stomach. Pitt was in strong shape and his body took the blow. These real accidents added truth to the violence. The team worked with trained choreographers to plan each move. Every punch and kick was meticulously planned and mapped out, ensuring that no one would be severely injured. Still, the actors pushed limits. In one scene, Pitt and Norton hit golf balls while drunk, and this was real. The balls even hit the crew's truck. For bigger risks, such as falling downstairs, a stuntman handled it and did it many times without pads. Pitt and Norton spoke on the digital video disc commentary about how painful that looked. The basement fights were filmed in real Los Angeles buildings. This gave a dirty, underground feel. The lights were dim, set to resemble old boxing rings with shadows across the room. Makeup was needed to show damage after the fights. Julie Pierce, the makeup artist, studied mixed martial arts matches and pay-per-view boxing to see how bruises and cuts developed. She wanted the injuries to change over time the way real wounds do. A bruise typically begins as red, then turns purple. Pierce even created a fake ear for an extra, modeled on the one when Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear during a match. She also examined Ultimate Fighting Championship bouts, as she had limited prior experience with realistic injury makeup. Sweat was created by spraying water on Vaseline to achieve a shiny effect, or by simply spraying water to create a dripping effect. This made the actors look tired and overheated after rounds of fighting. One memorable scene showed Norton's character hitting himself in his boss's office. He threw his body against desks and walls, falling and pulling his own hair. Norton performed these moves himself. The camera stayed close to show the chaos. The sound effects created the impression of cracking bones. Visual effects were used sparingly. Kevin Todd Haug led the team. They used computer graphics for the larger shots, such as the brain zoom or plane crash. In the fights, the effects were minor, such as adding blood or smoothing details after filming. In the office scene, effects were limited, keeping the action grounded in reality. Other actors went through changes as well. Meatloaf wore a fat suit that weighed 90 pounds with added false breasts. He used lifts in his shoes to appear taller next to Norton. The suit helped show his character's body after illness. Helena Bonham Carter stayed up late before filming to look tired. Her makeup was applied left-handed to give it a rough style. Pitt had his teeth chipped to create Tyler's uneven smile. Fincher was known for long filming sessions. He often shot 30 takes or more for a single scene. He used handheld cameras for the fights, so the movement would seem unsteady and rough.
At it, and to pull that off, you have to really choreograph.
This gave the sense of being in the middle of the ring. The film contained more than 300 scenes and 200 filming spots. The budget rose to $65 million due to the sets and effects. All of these choices made the fight scenes stand out. Real pain mixed with careful planning. And the fights carried meaning about anger and society. Fans still speak about them 25 years later. The work of the cast and crew was visible in each punch. It turned the story into a film that felt alive and dangerous. Changes from the novel. Fight Club began as a book by Chuck Palahniuk in 1996. It tells the story of a man who feels lost in life. He meets Tyler Durden, and together they form a club where men engage in combat as a means of feeling alive. The book explores themes of how society leaves people unhappy and questions what it means to be a man. In 1999, David Fincher adapted the story into a film starring Edward Norton as the main character, known as the narrator, and Brad Pitt as Tyler. Helena Bonham Carter played Marla Singer. The film retained much of the book's story, but made adjustments to make it more effective on screen. These changes made the story more visual and direct. Palahniuk himself liked the film and said it improved on his book in some ways. The idea for the book originated from an incident that happened to Palahniuk. He went on a camping trip and got into a fight with people nearby. They were playing their radio too loudly, and when he asked them to turn it down, they beat him badly. When he went back to work with a black eye and bruises, no one asked what happened. They ignored it. This made him think about how people avoid real talk and hide from problems. It gave him the thought that men were disconnected and might fight to feel some link to others. Palahniuk said in interviews that the silence from his co-workers showed him how society forces people to act politely while staying empty inside. This experience became the seed for Fight Club. One of the most significant changes was the ending. In the book, the narrator shoots himself to kill Tyler, who is part of his mind. He lives but ends up in a mental hospital. He believes he is in heaven, and Tyler's followers visit him, saying Tyler will return. The book leaves no escape from chaos. The film changed this. In the movie, the narrator shoots through his cheek, kills Tyler, and then watches buildings explode while holding Marla's hand. Fincher explained in interviews that he made this choice so the film would not linger too much on Tyler. Palahniuk agreed, saying the film's ending worked better for the screen, where explosions could show what the book could only tell. Characters also shifted between book and film. Tyler in the book was harsher. He killed the narrator's boss by forcing newspapers down his throat after blowing up his home. In the movie, the boss dies from a bomb, which is less direct. Tyler also planned darker crimes in the book, whereas in the film, his character was initially made more appealing. Brad Pitt explained in interviews that they wanted Tyler to draw people in before showing his danger. Norton added that the film retained the spirit of the book while sharpening the story for audiences. Marla's role changed as well. In the book, she saved the narrator when he tried to die by taking too many pills. She called for help, which led to him being placed in the hospital. The film removed this and instead put her beside him at the end. Palahniuk noted that the film gave her more strength in certain places. He did mention one minor change that bothered him, which was the soap being pink in the movie when it was not in the book. He later joked about it, calling it unimportant. Fincher explained he chose pink so it would stand out visually. Other details were either cut or softened. The book described more graphic elements, such as soap made from fat stolen from clinics. The film showed it, but with less detail. The themes about men and women also shifted. The book delved deeper into the idea of men feeling weak in a world of advertisements and job pressures. The film also showed this, but added more style, utilizing quick cuts and sound effects. Norton explained that Fincher's direction made the themes sharper on screen. Pitt agreed, saying the film addressed feelings of being trapped, but did it through the fights. Palahniuk praised the film overall. In interviews, he said he saw early clips during filming and admired how Fincher had adapted his words. He believed that adaptations should make changes to suit their new form. Fincher spoke about keeping the book's energy while shaping it into his own film. Norton and Pitt said that the script adhered closely to the book, but the acting lent it new weight. Norton lost weight to appear sick, as the book mentioned, but the film showed it more clearly. These choices helped the film find an audience over time. Initially, it failed at the box office, but later gained popularity on video. The book and movie both depicted a sense of feeling lost, but the film's changes helped it reach a wider audience. Palahniuk said he was glad for that outcome. Fincher later noted that some fans misunderstood the message, but he accepted that. Ultimately, the transition from book to film demonstrated how a story can adapt its form while retaining its essence. Actor preparations.
My character and Brad's character start.
Most people want to be movie stars, but do you know it takes a great deal of effort to make a cult movie? The actors prepared for Fight Club in ways that demonstrated effort and attention to detail. The film from 1999 had Brad Pitt as Tyler Durden, Edward Norton as the unnamed man, and Helena Bonham Carter as Marla Singer. Each of them did real tasks that fit their parts. This helped the film feel true. Brad Pitt worked hard to become Tyler. He learned how to make soap. Since Tyler sells soap made from fat in the story, Pitt and Edward Norton took classes together. They went to a small place called Auntie Godmother that taught soap work. They mixed lye and fat just as it was in the book. This gave them a sense of knowing the skill. Pitt explained later that it added to Tyler's wild side and showed how he lived without rules. He even fixed his smile for the role by asking a dentist to chip his front teeth. He thought chipped teeth matched Tyler's rough style. Pitt said it was not a problem since he could repair them after filming. Fans noticed the chipped teeth in close shots. It gave Tyler a raw look. Pitt also trained his body. He practiced boxing, taekwondo, and groundwork. He trained with Norton, and they both watched hours of ultimate fighting matches. Pitt wanted a lean build instead of a large one. His body fat stayed low for the scenes without a shirt. He smoked a lot during the film, but that was only for Tyler's image.
Brad and I got really excellent fight training.
Edward Norton also changed for his role. He had to lose weight after his earlier film, American History X. In that film, he was strong. For Fight Club, he lost 17 to 20 pounds. He ran and used pills to stay thin. This made him look weak and tired. Norton explained that he wanted to show how the man suffered from a lack of sleep. His face grew thinner to match the story. He even slept less while filming to look worn out. Unlike Pitt, Norton kept his skin pale. The difference between them showed the split in their minds. Norton also trained in boxing and taekwondo. Sometimes they hit each other for real. In one scene, Norton punched Pitt in the ear as Fincher asked him to. Pitt's shout was from actual pain. Norton later said on the DVD that this made the fights more real. He also learned soap making with Pitt. This gave them a bond outside of the fights. Helena Bonham Carter did unusual things for Marla. She instructed the makeup artist to use her left hand instead of her right. This made the makeup messy. Carter thought Marla would not care about her looks. She based this idea on Judy Garland in her later years when she appeared worn down. Carter wanted the same smeared look. She stayed up late before filming so her face looked tired. She explained later that it sometimes made her feel sick, but it fit Marla, who never rested. Carter smoked real cigarettes during filming. It was her first time and she became ill from too many. A doctor later helped her stop. She read the book several times and even spoke with Chuck Palahniuk. He supported her ideas. Carter chose clothes that looked old or stolen to match Marla's life. On the last night of filming, she stayed up with the crew. The actors did their own stunts. Pitt and Norton often fought without doubles. They carried real bruises that the makeup team sometimes used for effect. The makeup team studied boxing matches to copy real cuts and marks. Pitt admitted in interviews that preparing this way was hard, but it gave him a bond with Norton. Norton also said the classes helped them connect. Fincher pushed them with many takes, which wore them down in the same way their characters were worn down. Carter added that Pitt was the one who encouraged her to join the film after seeing her in another project. These steps are shown in the final work. The cast turned into their characters through these efforts. Even after 25 years, fans still talk about the film. The way the actors prepared was a key part of its lasting fame. Production details and budget. The plan was initially to spend $50 million to make the movie, but costs rose quickly. Building large sets and using special effects pushed the total to about $67 million soon after filming began. Arnon Milchan, who led New Regency, was the primary backer. When he saw how costs were rising, he grew angry and said he would stop funding after only a few weeks of work. He thought the film was too risky due to its themes of fighting and breaking rules. But when he watched the dailies, short clips from what had been filmed each day, he changed his mind. He decided to continue the support. In the end, the budget settled between $63 and $65 million. Some records say the exact cost was $65 million. Milchan was known for backing bold projects. Later, he also helped with The Revenant, which began with $95 million and rose to $165 million. Fincher was unwilling to cut parts of Fight Club to save money, stating that it would harm the story. The money paid for things like building the broken-down house on Paper Street and for effects like the large explosions at the end. The team filmed over 300 scenes in 200 locations across Los Angeles, using real basements and offices to create an authentic atmosphere. Fincher was cautious and shot many takes, sometimes up to 30. The music was by the Dust Brothers, who made machine-like sounds to match the mood. Jeff Cronenweth managed the camera work, giving it a dark look. Jim Uhls wrote the script, based on Chuck Palahniuk's book. 20th Century Fox provided most of the funding, although they were concerned about the violence. One of the small tricks in the film is the hidden flashes of Tyler. Before he meets the narrator, he appears in quick, single frames, about 4 times. One instance occurs when the narrator talks to a doctor, another at a support group, and others are scattered throughout the early scenes. Fincher added these flashes to hint that Tyler was already in the man's head. Tyler himself works with film reels in the story, where he splices images into family movies, so the flashes match this idea. Fans often pause the film to catch a glimpse of them. Another detail is Starbucks cups, which appear in almost every scene. Fincher asked the company and received approval, although he promised not to show the cups being destroyed. He explained that the cups were used to illustrate how brands are present everywhere in life. The film premiered at the Venice Film Festival on September 10, 1999, during the 56th edition. The audience did not welcome it well. Edward Norton recalled that Brad Pitt smiled when they heard boos, thinking it meant the film had made an impact. Reviews were divided, with some liking it and others not. Fincher wanted marketing that fit the theme of countering consumerism, but Fox released trailers that showed only fights and stars. This led many to think it was only an action film. Fincher later said this hurt the release. The movie opened in the United States on October 15, 1999, in 1,963 theaters. It earned about $37 million in the country and $100 million worldwide, less than its cost. A setback came when Rosie O'Donnell revealed the ending twist on her talk show. She had watched the movie early and said she disliked it. She told the twist on air, which spoiled the surprise for many. Fincher and the cast were upset. O'Donnell later said she did not realize the extent of the harm it caused. Although the box office was low, the movie gained popularity through home video sales. In the early 2000s, DVD sales surpassed 13 million copies, with some reports indicating 6 million in the first year. This success not only recouped the budget but also gave it a following. The DVD included extra features such as commentaries and hidden messages, including a warning from Tyler on the menu. Young audiences began quoting lines and even started their own clubs. The film was first seen as a failure in theaters but found new life later. It is now viewed as one of Fincher's lasting works. Palahniuk's book gained more readers, and the story became more well-known after the film's release. What began with budget problems, marketing issues, and early books at Venice later became a lasting part of modern cinema. Casting challenges. It's good to have a great movie idea like Fight Club. However, it's often difficult to find actors who will perfectly fit their roles and give 100% effort. Casting Fight Club was not easy. David Fincher adapted Chuck Palahniuk's book into a film about men who fight to feel alive. Getting the right actors took time and caused tension with the studio. 20th Century Fox sought big stars to help sell tickets, whereas Fincher prioritized actors who fit the story. Producers Ross Bell and Art Linson also had their own views. They met actors, discussed deals, and some turned down the roles. Others were chosen in ways that surprised people. Tyler Durden was the first focus. He is the wild figure who starts the fights. Brad Pitt ultimately landed the part, but the decision was not straightforward. At first, producers looked at Russell Crowe, who had just starred in L.A. Confidential in 1997. Ross Bell met with him and thought Crowe had the charm and edge to play the part of Tyler. When Art Linson joined, he pushed for Pitt instead. Linson met him and saw the star quality. The studio also agreed, thinking Pitt could bring in crowds after Meet Joe Black failed in 1998. Pitt was paid $17.5 million. Crowe stepped aside without protest. Sean Penn said later that he had also been considered as a second choice for Tyler, but either turned it down or was too busy. The studio sought a well-known name due to the film's violent themes and its rejection of consumerism. Fincher said in a later talk that Pitt had the right mix of fun and menace. Pitt showed his commitment by chipping his teeth to give them a rougher look. The role of the narrator was more difficult. This was the man with no name who tells the story and is split in his head. Fincher chose Edward Norton right away after seeing him in The People vs. Larry Flynt in 1996. Fincher told Vanity Fair that it was the only film of Norton's he had watched, but he knew from it that Norton could play pain and quiet doubt. The studio disagreed and wanted Matt Damon or Sean Penn, thinking they would sell more tickets. Damon was fresh off Good Will Hunting, and Penn already had the reputation of a star. Fincher refused to change. Norton was offered $2.5 million, much less than Pitt. Norton still had a problem because he owed Paramount one film from an earlier deal tied to Rounders in 1998. He could not sign with Fox until it was resolved. He met Paramount head Sherry Lansing and worked out a trade to appear later in The Italian Job. This freed him to join Fight Club. It was close to filming, which started in 1998, so the deal had to move quickly. Other offers for Norton, such as the talented Mr. Ripley, fell through. Norton lost close to 20 pounds for the role to look drained. His paleness stood out against Pitt's tan, highlighting their difference. Marla Singer caused the most significant casting trouble. She is the broken woman who smokes and drifts through the story. Fincher first offered the role to Janeane Garofalo, who agreed. Norton objected and had her removed, thinking she did not fit the part. She was angry and later called it a poor choice. Fincher then asked Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but she rejected the role, believing her comedy background did not fit. Courtney Love and Winona Ryder were also early ideas. Love later said she was fired because she refused Pitt's idea of a film about Kurt Cobain. Ryder was unable to join due to other commitments. The studio strongly backed Reese Witherspoon after her performance in Pleasantville, but Fincher said she was too young for the role. Witherspoon herself later said she found the story too dark. Sarah Michelle Gellar also turned down the role due to her television schedule. In the end, Fincher chose Helena Bonham Carter after seeing her in The Wings of the Dove. She had an unusual edge and came from a period film background, which made her casting unexpected. Pitt supported the choice and convinced her to take it. Carter prepared by staying up late to appear worn out and had her makeup applied with the artist's left hand to create a messy look. The role of Bob was given to Meatloaf. He played the man with enlarged breasts caused by drugs. Fincher cast him after seeing his emotional test performance. The suit he wore was heavy, weighing 90 pounds, with birdseed inside to ensure it hung correctly. He wore 8-inch lifts to look bigger next to Norton. The studio was uneasy about how real the chest looked, so 2 suits were built, one with breasts and one without. Meatloaf said the harness hurt his back and gave him sympathy for women with large chests. He kept his shirt on during fights to avoid showing too much detail. Fincher explained in interviews that casting was like the fights in the film. You planned but had to take blows. He fought Fox over safe names and won on some choices. Norton said Fincher found his weak spots and drew them out. Pitt thought the delays created the correct tension. Ultimately, the cast choices had a significant impact on the film. Norton from Larry Flynt, Carter instead of Witherspoon, and Meatloaf in his suit gave it its shape. Pitt as Tyler held it together after other turns. Cultural impact.
And I think that's kind of what this film is about. It's about preservation.
Fight Club changed the way people think about life. The film portrays a man who feels lost in his job and in the things he purchases. He starts to fight to feel strong. Over time, the story shaped ideas about men, buying things and breaking rules. Many see it as a significant event in popular culture. It sparked real clubs, was cut in China, and made critics argue. Fans repeat lines such as the rules about not talking. Some overlook that the story pokes fun at bad ideas. The movie makes light of tough guy acts, yet people take it seriously. This mix made its mark deeply. One significant outcome was the formation of real fight groups. After the film, men created secret spots to punch each other. In New York, a club called Rumble in the Bronx featured men from various professions competing fiercely. Models and rich men joined for thrills. They used basements or parks at night. There were no gloves, just fists like in the film. Reports say these groups started in the 2000s with rules copied word for word. Chuck Palahniuk, the author of the book, heard about them. He said in interviews that the fighters ignored the fun critique of society. They thought it was about hitting, not a warning about anger. In Russia, a Moscow club lets anyone join for free fights. Two men started it in 2008 after seeing the film. They filmed the bouts and shared them online. Sweden has underground rings that are even rougher. A Netflix show called The Cage shows Nazi links in some of these groups. Fights there continue without pause, with heavy bloodshed. Thailand has places where tourists fight locals. Arrow's Club in the United States does bare-knuckle bouts. These real fights harmed people badly, with broken bones. A man in California ran one in his yard. He said the film pushed him to feel alive. Schools also saw teenage clubs. In high school basements, students recorded fights. Years later, one person shared old videos. The media covered these as wild trends. States such as New York tried to stop them with rules against fights. Palahniuk repeated in talks that his story was a warning, not a call. Videos on YouTube showed crowds watching underground brawls, calling them real Fight Club. This spread the film's ideas but changed them. In 2022, China changed the ending and caused public anger. On Tencent Video, they cut the big explosions. Instead, the text said that the police stopped the men. Tyler was sent to jail. This matched China's rules that chaos cannot win. Fans online complained about it. They said it ruined the message about breaking free. Palahniuk joked that it matched his book more, where the man ends up locked up. However, he still found the cut amusing. David Fincher referred to it as strange in interviews. Following considerable backlash on social media, Tencent restored most of the original ending. They kept some cuts, but showed the building's fall. Bloomberg reported that user anger led to the change being rare. The Guardian noted that this demonstrated the extent to which people care about the film's message. The Hollywood Reporter called it a win against cuts. Reddit users shared the story, with fans expressing gladness. This event showed Fight Club still stirs debate worldwide. Critics were divided. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars. He called it frankly and cheerfully fascist, like Death Wish. He said it cheered violence where men made their own rules. In his review, he said it celebrated hitting as a form of freedom, yet he predicted that it would appeal to some viewers. Years later, many say his words aged poorly. Collider placed it on a list of worst takes. The BBC asked if Tyler is the most misread character. Ebert's blog later discussed the fight over the film. He said Tyler went too far into terror, not fascism. Law and Liberty called it a cult film at 20 years, noting Ebert's strong words. The Guardian in 2019 said it foresaw men's issues. YouTube hosts his full review clip. Reddit threads debate why he said fascist. Some argue he missed the mockery, yet it became a defining cult film of the 1990s. The film also sparked discussions on men and consumer culture. It shows men tired of desks and ads. They fight to reclaim their sense of masculinity. The New Yorker said it helped men think about masculinity in 2019. Some admire Tyler as a hero, but overlook the fact that he is flawed. LitHub said fans want power, not escape from consumer traps. Artifice called it a search for meaning beyond jobs and possessions. Medium in 2024 linked it to mental health and toxic masculinity. Reddit asks if it is about men or freedom. Substack said it appears in every discussion of these themes. The Dilettante Army tied it to myths of a male crisis. Mental Zone saw it as a search for identity. Ben Parsons wrote about work and consumer traps tied to men. Fight Club continues to spread its reach. It shaped how people think about empty lives and the push against control. What surprises you most about the move and cast revelations? Let's hear from you in the comments. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to our channel for subsequent videos.